Welcome back to Crucial Conversations. I'm your host, KD.
And I'm your co-host, Motormouth.
And we're sitting here discussing events of the week. And Motormouth, how about we go back and revisit a story that we've been trying to stay on top of for the past 2 months?
Yes.
And that would be the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman murder case.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what it is. It's a murder case. All right. For anyone that's actually been under a rock, to refresh our memories, George Zimmerman is a 28-year-old self-appointed neighborhood watch captain in Sanford, Florida, who is up for a murder charge. I think it's second-degree murder, if I'm recalling it right.
Yeah, that's what they got him on now.
That's the charge. Regarding a shooting where he actually shot an unarmed 17-year-old teenager visiting his father and his father's friend in a gated community in Sanford, Florida. Now, as of to date, George Zimmerman is out on bail for $150,000. And what's interesting to me about all this case is, I think it was last week, Motormouth, I'm not positive when it actually occurred, but George Zimmerman had to come back, and he didn't even show up. I stand corrected. His attorney went back, and he had the option to do a speedy trial or to do a lengthy trial, and he chose the lengthy trial.
Right.
Now, as a result of all of that, things are slowly coming out. Okay. First of all, what's occurred is the autopsy report has been leaked. And supporters of George Zimmerman, because they really are supporters, people that support him, and I try to, look at both sides of a coin, so to speak. But George Zimmerman has supporters, and they're saying that the new evidence that just came out is showing that George Zimmerman was beaten and bloodied about the head, and that Mr. Martin's knuckles were mangled, and these facts should bolster George Zimmerman's claim that he shot the unarmed black teenager in self-defense.
Well, it's just like this here. You saying knuckles, and when you saying knuckles, you saying with an S. The autopsy report said one finger. They only had one finger that was damaged and everything. But the bottom line is getting to the point is, regardless if he was beat up, mastered, just slaughtered, however you want to say, just filthy, blood all over and everything, it don't change the point that the man got out of his car and pursued the boy. That's the young man. That's the bottom line. So, therefore, I don't care how bad he was beaten, as far as I'm concerned, he was the aggressor by doing what he was not supposed to do. He wasn't supposed to have a gun on him. So all this leak stuff and all this stuff don't mean nothing to me. It don't prove a single solitary thing, because a young man is not here to represent himself. He cannot say anything anymore. So they can try to fabricate, they can do whatever they want to do. However, it don't change the difference that this man got out of his vehicle and pursue this young man.
Yeah, it doesn't change that basic fact.
But
believe it or not, there's a lot of people that believe the opposite of what you're saying, Motormouth. And as a result of that, they're putting their money where their mouth is, as I like to say, because they are donating. George Zimmerman has set up a PayPal account.
Yeah,
and as a matter of fact, he set it up a couple of months ago. I think it's been at least a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, based on what's been released also, this PayPal fund that he set up is raising approximately $1,000 a day.
Okay.
So apparently there's a lot of people that are, supporting him.
Well, I think it's, coming from that way, because they trying to, make it be a racial thing when it's really not a racial thing.
That's according to his attorney.
Anyway. The whole thing, they need to just take out the racial car, the race car as we call it, and just drop it. It's not even about that, whatsoever. This man broke the law.
But Motormouth, you're assuming one thing. You're assuming that no one of color has donated to that PayPal fund. We don't know.
I'm not talking about
we
the
don't
PayPal
know who's
account.
Donated to it.
I'm not talking about people of color or what. But as you said, his attorney, and looking at the writings in the newsletters and the paper, they putting it in a racial tone.
Yeah, they are. I agree.
That there. As I said, it's not a racial thing at all.
Not
a young man been murdered. This guy violated the laws for being the homeowners association guard dog. He done broke the law.
Self-appointed.
Yeah, self-appointed.
Watchman.
You carrying a concealed weapon on you, regardless if he had a permit or not. If he's on the duty of being on the watch, HOs and guards are not supposed to carry a concealed weapon. He called the police like he was supposed to. They told him to stay in his vehicle. If there was a problem, they would handle it. And he decided to be John Wayne or Paul Revere, Warner, I mean, however you want to consider it himself, and broke the law and pursued the young man. That's the bottom line. And I don't see why people don't stay to the basic issue of it and, all this other stuff, And then I also think, looking at the stuff that they put in the autopsy report, that, everybody on that police force that was out there that night should have been put on leave of absence. Because when have you ever heard someone doing a murder case only use one picture from a cell phone for evidence of anything? A cell phone at that. What happened to the crime scene unit? I mean, it's just so much, that it's just funny, I mean, because we can go over the report over and over, and it don't mean that the young man wasn't trying to defend himself when his knuckle got scratched.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting to me because I'm kind of with Trayvon Martin's family's attorney. They just want all the leaks to stop. Pretty much. And I'm with them because I look at it like this. First of all, the autopsy report was never supposed to be released to the public. Okay, the details, it leaked out. That's what I mean by leak.
Right.
Okay, based on what I read and what I think is going on, the autopsy report was not supposed to be released until the trial. You know what I mean? The trial has not officially begun yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, so pretty much the Martin family's attorney, they want the leaks to stop and they want all the records to be released in the Zimmerman case. And you know what's interesting to me?
Mm-hmm.
They could have given all the information, from the
Long
get-go.
ago. Right.
From the get-go. Because all along kept going, okay, if this man is claiming he had a bloody head and black eyes and all this kind of stuff, now they just this week released it. Both attorneys on both sides of the case had this information from the beginning. Mm-hmm. They could have released this stuff, well, not to the public, but they could have released it, and a lot of this stuff even weeks before now could have even been cleared up.
Oh, yeah.
Things got all riled up, out of control, and it's like, I think it's strategically leaked. The timing is just interesting to me. It's like every week, boom, here's something new, or every 2 weeks, boom, here's something
Exactly.
else. And I find the timing of it all to be kind of interesting. You know what I mean? I really do. Well, and I think it's strategically planned because they're going to try to get George Zimmerman to walk out.
Yeah,
I really do. Free man.
But, but again, as I say, I just think that everybody is overlooking the actual issue of, because, I mean, there should have been more things he was charged with other than second-degree manslaughter. Could have been first-degree murder, But, outside of that, the other violations that he did and not following the orders that was given to him by the police department. Leading up to that point of the incident, they're just, I mean, it just.
But see, here's the problem with everything leaking out, in strategically planned intervals, Okay, the Martin's family's attorney, Benjamin Crump, he said this week he wants full transparency, his words exactly, in the case. And he's requesting this after several news outlets, including ABC, NBC, and CNN, were given access to a sealed medical examiner's report based on Trayvon Martin. And if we recall back, remember we did the show with the guy, was it the NBC president?
Right, when he did his thing.
Matter of fact, didn't he get fired because of something that he did that he shouldn't have done?
Fabricated
things and got everybody all ruffled up.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. I'm with their attorney. He should have full transparency if ABC, NBC, and CNN have it.
Right.
And the medical records are supposed to be sealed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I say to me. It's just interesting. It's almost like they're playing on the public.
But again, too, it's that thing about, I think they should be able, under something like this and things breaking into the news, people having things that they shouldn't have, they should be able to go back after the person who leaked it. There shouldn't be no type of protection clause or anything.
Do you think whoever leaked it is going to come up and admit they leaked it?
Well, then they need to hold the news people responsible for what they got. Because they knew of the rules and regulations. They just need to tighten certain things up on certain things in the future, so things like this cannot happen.
true.
You
Because
know.
the Martin family's attorney, he's convinced, and I'm kind of agreeing with him,
It was deliberate
that
to
it
me.
was leaked, to help George Zimmerman's claim of self-defense.
Yeah.
Bottom line, as you like to say, Motormouth.
Right. But again, I just hope they don't even bend down to that, because to me, regardless of how his knuckles was or anything, this boy was in confrontation with this man that got out of his vehicle and approached him.
Yeah. But did you read the autopsy report in details?
Oh, yeah, I read the one where it said it was only about one knuckle.
Yeah.
I forgot what hand they mentioned it on. But the other thing was interesting, that they said how close he was. I read one that was 1 to 2 inches
That's
away
what I was
from
looking
him.
at. I read one that said 1 to 2 inches, and I saw another one that said 17 inches. I mean, let's just break it down a little bit. Okay, according to NBC News, the multi-page autopsy says that Martin was killed, quote, killed by a penetrating gunshot wound to the chest,
Right.
with the entrance wound located, quote, on his left chest 17 inches below the head. The single bullet passed directly from the front to the back through his lungs, creating perforations. The only injuries to Martin are for the gunshot and to one knuckle, quote, a quarter inch to 1/8 inch abrasion on the fourth finger in the ring area.
Right.
So it's just interesting. The timing, the breakdown, everything.
And
the leak, everything.
But the thing about it, if you're fighting,
Mm-hmm.
that fourth finger is not the finger that usually is the finger that do any damage to anybody, because it's the number 2 and 3, the middle finger and the first one, is the one that really make the contact. Mm-hmm. So usually when the fourth or fifth one hit, that ain't a solid hit like you really want to give.
I
you know
hadn't
what
thought
I'm saying?
about it from that point of view.
It ain't the solid. I mean, if you're a fighter,
I hadn't thought about that.
where the impact is at. All you gotta do is think about when you hit your hand, make a fist, and
Okay,
yeah, hit your hand, and there, actually what happened, But it's just like,
I can see you passionately believe
right.
that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it from that
think
point of
about
view.
it. There's just so much. That's the reason why I say what I say. They don't need to let this man off of nothing.
Yeah.
And
then they're
because
talking
of
about the
confrontation.
range
Yeah.
of the gunshot. Okay, the wound interest was from a bullet that was fired from intermediate range, and they're interpreting that to mean 2 to 4 inches.
Well, the actual intermediate is what they consider anything that is like 17 or 18 inches or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
they
still
gave you
close,
right, but they
close.
tell you what intermediate is.
Mm-hmm.
But then they did mention 1 to 2 or wherever 2 to 4 inches from
True.
his body because of the power, the bullet marks and the
Mm-hmm.
powder from the bullet, the burn and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that went through him through the front and out his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're right, because I'm looking at another report, and they're saying that 17-year-old Martin had one small abrasion on his left ring finger.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder was he left-handed or right-handed? Just wondering.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about a few things now.
Yeah.
On his left ring finger below the knuckle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Below the knuckle.
Below the knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, as I say, little boy got to be mighty awesome to do some damage like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but then again, too, we don't know if that came from him falling to the ground. We don't know how that finger got damaged.
We really don't.
But we do know one thing about Zimmerman and his butt whooping. All this information is coming out very, very late.
The timing of it is interesting.
Right, and then
really
the way they're trying to dock her up now, after so much, I mean, 2 months almost, 3 months, you might want to say, afterwards, now they saying.
Yeah, because even when you break down Zimmerman's record, remember from the beginning they kept saying that he had abrasions on the back of his head and all this kind of stuff. Remember they showed the video of him, being brought into the police station. And I'm thinking, I don't see anything. And they kept saying he had a broken nose. And now his medical report has been released.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Zimmerman's medical report this week is showing that he likely, according to NBC, saying he likely suffered a broken nose, 2 black eyes, and an abrasion on the back of his head. Now, did you see two black eyes
Nope.
on there? Now, granted, we can't. If we don't know what the man looked like before, it's kind of hard to say we can look at him and say whether or not his nose is broken. But I still think it's But I still think if somebody had broken someone's nose, by the time they got him to the station, I don't know, I've never had a broken nose, but I'm assuming, shouldn't his nose have at least been swollen or like discoloration around it?
But
and then two black eyes.
But there was a specialist.
Black eyes don't heal up in 15 minutes. Shouldn't his eyes have had purplish or some kind of bruising underneath it?
Right, but it was funny though that you mentioned that there was a specialist, a doctor, specialized, I guess, in the nose injuries and different things like that. He said that Zimmerman did not walk, breathe, or anybody that had like a broken nose, because there's certain things that come into the about inhaling, trying to breathe, and different things of that.
True.
And he took. I remember his comments was from the video from when he got out of the police car to inside the station. They were showing and everything that at no time did he walk or move or show any sign of a person suffering from a broken nose.
And I never had a broken nose and two eyes, but I don't think I would have been able to get out of a squad car with a broken nose and two eyes and my hand tied behind my back and just stroll up in there.
Like nothing.
Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. But not trying to make light of a situation, but honestly, it makes
there
you
was
wonder.
no swelling of the face or in the areas and stuff. It just, it's unreal.
And then too, honestly,
fabrication.
Everybody reacts in different situations differently.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that if I had just murdered someone, even if it was in my mind accidental, I had just murdered someone. I just been beaten to a pulp, according to him. I just been jumped on. I just had my nose broken. I just got two black eyes, and I got my head, scraped, burst open the way they described it on the back. This man sure was calm on that videotape. Now, I'm not saying that everybody reacts differently. He was supposed to come in just, totally wacko and freaking out, but he sure was calm about it. Or was he in shock? What do you think?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, people might be mad at me for saying this, but I kind of hope that Trayvon Martin really did kick his butt. Because I believe that
in
this
my
man
situation, I would have been fighting.
Yeah, I believe this man actually approached this young man and threatened him and all kinds of stuff, and the young man felt like he was in trouble. Yeah, because I'm quite sure it wasn't Martin Zimmerman yelling for help. And I know through forensics and everything, they can analyze that audio tape and really figure out who voice it is, because they could take samples of Zimmerman's voice and that, because right now, after the Patriot Act passed and everything, our voice is our identity, not our social security numbers and everything else anymore. It's our voice pattern, and they can actually sample that voice pattern to find out exactly what's going on. And I just feel that 100%. And the bottom line again, this man got out. I think I did read it out of on one of the reports that one of the personnel or writers or authorities said it don't change the matter that this man got out of his car and approached that young man.
I noticed something also that kind of caught my eye. According to the medical report, they said that Zimmerman had a pair of black eyes, a fractured nose, and 2 cuts to the back of the head. And this is according to a medical report that was prepared by his personal physician. And according to his personal physician, George Zimmerman was treated on February 27th at Alamonte Family Practice.
Right.
I just think it's kind of interesting that this was also prepared by his family physician. Now, I'm wondering, Motomau, where was George Zimmerman on February 27th? He had been arrested by then, right?
No. You remember, it took him a while to arrest. That's where all the turmoil came about. Him not being arrested, still walking around. He didn't get arrested until sometime later in March. Yeah.
But the timing of it all is very interesting.
Wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get arrested until April. All the uprising and everything started occurring in March.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But the Martin case is getting very interesting, and I have a feeling they're going to drag it out as long as they can because, the longer it takes to get everything going, they think everybody's going to calm down and it won't be such a high thing on the public's radar screen. You know what I mean?
Yep. But, it just, again, as I say, that police department, it need to be overhauled or something because, it just don't make no sense. I was reading the article that they wrote in the New York Times about it. About
how
police.
they botched up a couple of things.
Right, and they only used one cell phone photo.
Yep.
At the scene of Zimmerman injuries.
And then they also said that it was something that was problematic because it was raining, so the scene itself, they didn't really get as in-depth as they should have.
But the other key part, too, about the march messing up, and I think I mentioned it to you, when we was talking before, we don't know if this boy was high, drunk, or anything, and they didn't
do a medical report
Right,
on
they
him
didn't do an alcohol nor a drug test
they sure did.
to see, of him that night.
They sure did.
They didn't do none of that, so, local authorities, just messed up a case, all the way around. They botched this, And
then I read somewhere.
And then they didn't take the blood because they was talking about it was raining and all of this.
Rain,
right.
Then I read something this week. I don't exactly remember where they were trying to suggest. These are people that are supporting the George Zimmerman case. They were trying to suggest that, how would I put it, without sounding like I'm accusing someone. Well, they were trying to suggest that once they got some medical work done, that even though it didn't occur the night of the murder, they were trying to insinuate that he had medication in his system that might imply that he had ADD.
Okay.
But I'm thinking, okay, and even if he did have ADD, it still doesn't mean you don't know right from wrong.
Yeah, but you
know what I mean?
Right. And then the other thing too about it, and just put it out there, with the mark on his knuckle, it don't relieve the eye. Don't really stop the idea that he was trying to get away.
Yeah.
Or defend himself.
Not in my mind.
It's still there. The bottom line, this man got out of the car. And approached this young man, and the confrontation happened. The confrontation would never happen if he had never got out of his vehicle and kept on minding his own business.
I think so.
That's the whole story to me about the whole situation.
Because Zimmerman's lawyer, George Zimmerman's lawyer, Mr. Mark Omari, is saying that he may seek a dismissal of the second-degree murder charges against his client under Florida's Stand Your Ground law. And that's what he reinforced this week. And I'm with the Trayvon Martin family's attorney. I think that he is strategically lining all this stuff up. Things are accidentally being leaked for convenience because he's trying to get him off.
Yeah, but again, to me,
You think this should possibly be a hate crime? I'm wondering.
Well,
should this be classified as a hate crime?
I don't know if it should be classified a hate crime or anything, but
that's
it's the bottom
question
line.
That's floating around.
Yeah, but the bottom line to me, I cannot see how stand your own ground could apply to this situation when this man got out of his car and made the confrontation.
Right.
Okay, there was no ground for him to stand on. But that was his own.
I agree.
That was lost a long time ago when he got out of his vehicle and a man wasn't in his yard or at his house for him to stand his own ground. There's no own ground.
I guess what you're saying is like in every situation there's a right and there's a wrong and the truth is somewhere in the middle. That's just how I look at life. You have a black side, you got a white side. I'm not talking color, race. I'm just saying areas. Your black area, a white area, and that little gray area in the middle. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of people that are supporting George Zimmerman that are so much in the gray until they're not looking at the black and the white as far as what happened. That's just how I see it. Because I'm like you. Everything has a consequence. Everything you do when you decide to do something, everything has an effect.
Exactly.
And I'm with you, Motor Mouth. If that man had not gotten out of that car that night, especially when he called the non-emergency 911, whatever the non-emergency number is, and they told him, first of all, from what I recall, they asked him what the problem was, and he said the guy was looking suspicious, and he said a few other words that are still debatable. And they told him, stay in the car. We'll get someone to look into it. When he opened that door and stepped his foot on the ground, okay, everything changed from black and white to gray.
Right.
Okay. And when he hopped himself out of that truck or his vehicle and he brought the gun with him, that was another decision because he could have gotten out if he was going to go ahead and do his own thing and not gotten out with the gun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But he did two things that in my world just changes everything. Yeah. He got out of the car when they told him not to. And he got out of the car with the weapon.
Exactly. But, another thing, too, like you said, the yin and yang turn the thing around.
Yin and yang and twisting and turning. But who said still don't change anything.
Trayvon Martin wouldn't try to stand his own ground.
Exactly. Because if it's raining and I'm 7 feet from my
He's
house,
the one
and somebody rolls up on
it should
me
be
in
the
truck,
other way around.
Best believe, I'm not even going to be in the rain trying to figure out, is he going to shoot me?
Right.
I'm going to try to take him out. Yeah. Because, that's just how it is. But what did he expect for him to do? Stand up and take whatever occurs?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but the stand your own ground law should be turned around the other way.
I think so, because technically Trayvon Martin was on his ground, on his father's girlfriend or friend's ground.
Yeah, it should be turned around the other way.
But in reality, a lot of people on the world and the planet just don't see it that way. That's
exactly. I don't understand, how his attorney could do that. I mean, I was Martin's attorney. Hey, my son was trying to stand his own ground and lost his life.
Right.
Okay, because this man got out of his vehicle and everything. I just think if they got a real good attorney, he will get him. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Because if he get off of this in any kind of way whatsoever, as they say, something is rotten in Denmark.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's no ground I could see any way I look at, Zimmerman, being able to justify getting out of his car for anything.
Right.
And that's the whole issue to the whole thing to me is him getting out of that vehicle after he'd been instructed not to.
Yeah, because I said that's when everything changed.
Right.
If he was that concerned about the guy being suspicious and everything, he could have stayed in the car and waited for the police to show up.
Thank you.
And then again, when he got or his vehicle or his truck or whatever he was driving at the time, or like you said, when he got out, if he was going to be bold enough to confront him, because I'm telling you right now, in Atlanta, Georgia, you don't want to roll up on somebody, gun or no gun, and confront somebody because they look suspicious. You'll be the one that we'll be analyzing the autopsy report. It'll hurt you.
As I say,
you bold to even get out and confront somebody because they look suspicious.
Whatever made him think he was Rambo, John Wayne, or Mac Dillon, the man took the law in his own hand. He made
a dreadful mistake when he got out of that vehicle. He really did. But like you like to say, motor mouth, like your famous quote, bottom line. The Trayvon Martin's family attorney, Benjamin Crump. I like to quote what he said after he was calling for full disclosure and a stop to all the leaks, the leaks and everything about the records in the Zimmerman case.
Yes.
He said you can look at this in the full context. Okay, that's what I mean by looking at it. Forget the black and the white and the gray. Let's look at the whole big picture.
Right.
All three areas. Okay. George Zimmerman made the decision to get out of his car, profile Trayvon Martin, pursue Trayvon Martin, and confront him.
Yes.
End quote. And that's all you can say.
And that's what I'm saying. That's it.
That's it. So we're going to see what's going on, what's going to happen, and we're going to try to stay up with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman murder trial because it's getting even more interesting. It really is.
Yes, it is.
More interesting. Who knows what's going to come out next week? I'm sure it'll be something else that'll pop up.
Yeah, but as I say, I don't care what they bring out. I stay with the attorney, which you just said the attorneys, stated.
It's a nice summary of all this other stuff that's floating around.
That's the bottom line.
Bottom line.
My famous word, bottom line. Yes.
And bottom line is, Motor Mouth, we have to stop and take a station break.
Okay. And we'll be back to you
after these messages.